Welcome to today's Northwoods Financial Series presentation. The Northwoods Financial Series is a free series we host at Park City Credit Union with a different educational webinar every month. My name is Leiskau. I am a member of the Park City marketing team and I will be your moderator, and I'm excited to introduce to you our presenter, John Leiskau. John Leiskau is a battalion chief and EMT paramedic with Merrill Fire and EMS. John has been with the department for 20 years, 18 years of which he was on the line staff as a firefighter and paramedic, and the past 2 years as a battalion chief of operations. John and his wife live in Merrill. They have 3 children and 3 grandchildren. So thank you much, John, for joining us on our Northwoods Financial Series today.
Well, first off, on behalf of the City of Merrill Fire Department, we'd like to thank Park City Credit Union for getting us involved in one of their monthly offerings for their members. I just want to give a little brief history behind the Merrill Fire Department itself. The Merrill Fire Department was established in 1888 as just a fire department, and as the years progressed and the need for emergency medical service increased, in 1970, the Merrill Fire Department began providing an ambulance service as well. There's been different levels throughout the years, and gradually as needs changed, we tried to stay on top of the game and have become a paramedic service, which we've been doing since right around 2005 in that area. So considering the large area that we cover, which covers about 540 square miles of the southern half of Lincoln County, our response times and the needs for community members within that area have certainly changed over the years, and we want to try to provide the best medical and fire response we can for those individuals. Our department has 21 cross-trained shift members, both on fire and EMS. So depending upon the emergency need, we'll either respond with a ambulance, multiple ambulances, or as a shift as for any fire calls. So there's 7 members per shift. We do have a total number of 25 individuals that work within the Merrill Fire Department. We have a battalion chief of administration, administrative assistant, fire inspector, along with the fire chief. So as calls come in, we utilize our on-duty staff, and at times we need to utilize off-duty staff and surrounding departments to assist with any kind of emergencies that might arise. Our shifts work on a 48-96 schedule, which means we're here for 48 hours at a time, and we're off for 96. However, like I mentioned, there may be times on our days off we need to come assist the on-duty shift with emergencies. Like I mentioned, our ambulances cover the southern part of Lincoln County to the tune of about 540 square miles, and our fire service covers the city of Merrill, the town of Scott, the town of Merrill, and a part of the town of Rock Falls, for those that are familiar with the area. Our department averages about 2,000 calls, emergency calls for service a year. 80% of those are EMS related, 20% are fire related. And we've been in our new station here at 110 Pierce Street since about 2014. And that's where we have one station now with all members and all equipment housed in this one location. So you never know what kind of calls we may kind of calls on 911, what we need to take care of. I should have done a little research where the cat in a tree comes from, but we do not take care of cats in trees. But like I said, I should have had a little history behind that, but they do come down after a while. So to get into today's topic, we want to talk about some EMS related and fire related safety tips. So On the EMS side of things, again, this is only uh, a few of the more common things that we run into and things that hopefully members can take into consideration for EMS safety tips. One of those being trip hazards in the home. We do get called on a fairly regular basis for falls with needs for assistance getting up, or sometimes a fall that can have some long-lasting injury and side effects to them. And some of the ways to prevent those is limiting the number of extension cords that you use throughout the home. Although they may be helpful for getting some things that you need plugged in, but using them as in a temporary basis is one of the safest ways. Having them across hallways or in the way of stairwells certainly can cause a trip hazard. Along with like area rugs, there's numerous sizes and locations that you may want to put those things, but over time, edges can curl up, and there's just maintain those rugs so that they don't cause a trip hazard for you. Along with pets, sometimes you can get some excited pets when visitors come, and maybe a trip hazard for yourself or your visitors. So one of those things that you don't really think of too often, but some of the things that throughout the years that I've been here have been causes of trips and falls. So please take some of those considerations into mind when using extension cords, area rugs, and having excited pets. Another EMS safety tip is medications, unused medications, the locations of these medications. Uh, as mentioned in the beginning, I do have 3 children myself. They're grown now, and 3 grandchildren. So they're always, even when our kids are smaller, they're always curious. So keeping things out of the reach of those youngsters, even locking those up, along with firearms, especially loaded firearms, or having firearms and ammunitions in the same location for those curious youngsters to get a hold of and play with, certainly causes a serious safety hazard. I did talk to our local police department today. They are a medication drop off. It's available 365 days a year in the main lobby here in Merrill at the Merrill Police Department. Chief Bennett had mentioned that just yesterday or the day before. I don't know how long this particular drop off was going on, but just yesterday or the day before, they actually disposed of properly 200 pounds, nearly 200 pounds of just medications. That didn't include the bottles or anything that came in. That was just raw medication. So having those types of things removed from the home, especially if they're expired or if you are no longer prescribed those medications, it doesn't only prevent the youngsters from getting into that stuff, but it also prevents you from possibly accidentally taking the wrong medication inadvertently. So you may want to check with your local police department. It sounds like most police departments do offer a medication drop off. Some may be only at the rate of once or twice a year. So just check in your local jurisdiction with the availability of getting rid of medications. Signs of stroke. I know we hear it on the TV, hear it on the radio, but just a reminder for the signs of a stroke. The one that is common is the FAST. It would be facial droop, arm weakness, slurred speech, and the T stands for time to call 911. The important thing with that is um, what the onset is. The sooner that the EMS services can be called 911, the better chance the survival and the limited disability that individual may have. So having some type of idea on the time set of those symptoms. Some of the symptoms include blurred vision, sudden confusion, sudden severe headache with no known cause, numbness or weakness in the extremities. Uh, a stroke is what we like to commonly call a brain attack, just like a heart attack. It is a sudden loss of oxygenation to the brain from a couple of different reasons. However, getting to an emergency department and having medical attention as soon as possible certainly increases your odds of having a better chance of limited disabilities from a stroke. Uh, Heart attack, there are several different signs, and everyone's different, even between males and females, as far as a sign of a heart attack. Some of the more common ones are sudden shortness of breath, pain radiating down one or both arms, sudden chest pain not relieved by rest, and a sudden feeling of sweating, a cold sweat, are some of the typical signs of a heart attack. However, if you have a family history or you're just feeling not well and you're not really certain what's causing it, but you know something's not right, certainly a good time to call for EMS and have things checked out at an emergency department. At a minimum, at least give you the peace of mind that if they don't find anything, at least you had it checked out. And if it was enough to get your attention, it's certainly something that should be checked into without delay. Sometimes it's easy to put those kind of symptoms off as something else, but getting emergency care and evaluation as soon as possible is certainly in your best interest. And like I had mentioned about the stroke, it's just a lack of oxygenation to the heart or heart arrhythmia that changes the way the oxygenated blood flows through your body. So it's certainly something to keep track of and have checked out in the event you're having those kinds of symptoms. As far as EMS related, certainly there are several other things that there are common EMS safety issues, but those are some of the more current things that we've been dealing with recently. So, as far as the fire safety tips, this is the time of year: change your clock, change your battery. That's a smoke detector along with carbon monoxide detectors. Although it might seem that twice a year seems a little extreme for changing those batteries. However, those two particular pieces of equipment are lifesavers, and having working smoke detectors, it can utilize the batteries for something else, but having fresh batteries in either one of those devices could certainly save your life. And now, over the last couple of years, they've come out with a 10-year, both a smoke and carbon monoxide detectors that has a battery. You cannot change them. They're just good for 10 years. And after the 10 years of service that you actually install the unit, it will alert you that that time has gone by and it's time to just replace the entire detector. A good thing is to, when you install those, to mark down the date on say the back side of the detector, because the time goes by so fast it might seem like you just installed it. We get called to detectors chirping or beeping, and come to find out that the thing's been up there for 10, 15 years, and the resident didn't even realize it had been that long. So uh, changing those smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors, have one of each on each level of the home, particularly near your sleeping areas. Carbon monoxide You can't smell it, you can't taste it. So throughout the day, your busy day, you're in and out, and you're getting fresh air throughout the day. But it's at nighttime when everything's closed up and you're sleeping and you're not getting uh, any of that fresh air from outside. That seems to be one of the bigger times that we have evening when there's carbon monoxide problems. Ways to prevent carbon monoxide in the first place is leaving vehicles run in attached garages, running portable generators either in the attached garage or in the home or basement itself. Uh, Hopefully, we don't have to worry about it anytime too soon with accumulation of snow. However, furnace vents, sometimes they're located at the lower level of the house, just above ground level, and that snow can plug those furnace vents, and newer models of furnaces may shut off in that case, but it certainly isn't something you want to just expect. So after a good snowfall or even a drifting snow, it's a good idea to walk around the home, check out those vents, make sure that they're clear of any debris or snow. Um, as far as fire safety tips, again, having working smoke alarms is going to be in your best interest. But come holiday season here, we're going to be having Christmas trees in the house. Open candles and open flames. I know they look nice and they smell nice, but there are certainly numerous safer alternatives to candles. Keeping those Christmas trees lit, or excuse me, not lit, watered. Um, it gets busy throughout that time of year, and maybe forgetting to water the tree, or once Christmas is over, if you do have a live tree in the house, um, it's easy to forget about it. Well, Christmas is over. However, it's still in the house, and it still is a flammable item in the home. So keeping them watered until they've been removed from the home. Uh, Utilizing extension cords during the Christmas season, holiday season in general. A lot of times we can have overloaded using uh, too small of extension cords. Um, if you have them in a location where there's a lot of traffic, it can degrade the insulation around those extension cords, causing a spark or some type of electrical malfunction. Again, those animals that you may have throughout the house, it's a new thing for them. So particularly if uh, cats like to be fairly curious, try to climb the trees or whatever they may do in them or around them could cause some problems. So uh, have them in a safe, those trees in a safe location, particularly not in one of your exits of the home in the event you have an emergency, or in the event you have an emergency as far as a medical emergency, and those responding personnel, it blocks their access to you, or having an alternative exit is always preferred and needed in the event of emergency. So the location of those trees is something to take in mind as well. Um, Trying to think of a few other. Well, there's a lot of cooking that goes on during the holiday season. If you would happen to have a fire, if you have an extinguisher handy, try to utilize that as quickly as you can. However, if you know it's bigger than what your extinguisher is going to handle, uh, at that point it's best to exit the home, make sure everyone's out of the home. As hard as it is to do, if you do have pets and they aren't able to get out, please don't risk your life to go back in and get those animals. Open doors will allow those animals, they're going to be scared too. So if there is an opening, they will try to their best as well to get out. Um, if you're going to utilize that fire extinguisher, make sure you have a safe entrance behind you, or exit behind you. Don't get caught between the fire and and having no exit. So, and I know it can be scary at the time, but try to stay calm, use your head, and that way you can try to do the best you can, but make sure you give yourself enough time to get out safely. During the holiday season, one of the visual reminders that a lot of the fire departments have around the area is to keep the wreath green. Um, at the beginning of the year, that wreath has all green lights on, and from our department does it from Thanksgiving Day through the first of the year. As we have significant fires, those green bulbs get changed with red. So as you drive by your local fire department, if you do see a red bulb, take some of these tips into consideration when you get home, and just double check with the busyness that time of the year brings. A lot of times things can be overlooked fairly easily. A lot of these wreaths you'll see around have a white bulb on top. You may be curious of what that bulb represents. The white bulb, actually represents fallen firefighters, not only within a department but across the country in memory of fallen firefighters. There is also around 2017-18, we added a blue bulb to that wreath as well. And that's in memory of fallen law enforcement officers throughout the year, because in emergency situations, be it EMS or fire, law enforcement is always helpful in trying to mitigate the situation and do their part to help us help community members. Also talked about keeping doors closed. I know it's kind of sometimes it can be a hard habit to get into. Um, However, keeping bedroom doors closed, even when you go to bed in the evening, it's just that extra barrier in the event that you would have, if you would have a fire in your home, that it'll help keep heat out temporarily, along with keeping smoke out of especially your sleeping quarters. Um, Today's homes, 50 years ago, or right around that time frame, houses that were built more than 50 years ago are in the fire service considered legacy homes. Those homes were built out of brick. Those homes were built with regular lumber. Nowadays, they're called light construction. Uh, so there's a lot of different materials used in today's construction compared to years ago. A lot more glues. Um, as far as the furnishings go, uh, that the furnishings really don't matter so much in legacy or light construction homes. It's what your home is furnished with. Years ago, furnishings were made of wool or cotton, things that didn't burn as quickly as furnishings do nowadays. A lot of it's polyester foams. Today's fires burn 200 or create 200 times more smoke than older furnishings. And a legacy home with older furniture, you'd have about 17 minutes to to get out of the home. Where nowadays, with the light construction and different materials in today's furnishings, you have about 3 minutes. Just do more to the smoke. The fire still evolves quicker than years ago, but the amount of smoke that's created is typically what kills individuals in house fires, because their inability to breathe, and that's where the working smoke detectors come into play and alert you way in advance of a possibility of a fire. Should have mentioned this earlier, but part of our mission statement is preventing harm, is what we're trying to do today. It's part of what we like to call our between alarms value that we bring to the community. Certainly, we're always here to respond to emergencies at a moment's notice. However, preventing those types of things from happening in the first place is something we take a lot of pride in here at the Merrill Fire Department, along with other departments with surrounding our community and anywhere in the. If you're a member of a department, it's easier to prevent it than it is to respond to it. So, um, wood burning, getting back to, and I apologize for kind of getting off track there, but as far as fire safety tips, within the last couple days here, certainly the temps are on the decline. So if you have wood burning fireplaces within the home just to take the chill out, make sure you have those checked prior to lighting it for the first time for the year. You never know if a critter might have got in there, or a bird could have built a nest. There's several different things that may uh, be a reason for plugging a chimney. So please have that checked and cleaned prior to your initial burning. Um, with the holiday season again, wrapping paper and things like that, it's not recommended to dispose of cardboard and wrapping paper in your wood burning furnace, especially if it's in the home, as it creates an intense amount of heat, and it can cause some problems with your chimney. Let's see. With like I mentioned, hopefully it's not going to happen here anytime soon. But snow accumulations, if you live in a rural setting where you don't have fire hydrants, keeping a clear driveway for us to be able to respond. We have rather large vehicles, so keep them a little wider if you can. Allows us to gain and get closer to your residents. For those of you that live in the city, not just in the city of Merrill, obviously, but any city that has fire hydrants. A number of years ago, we had issues with, when we had an extreme amount of snow, those hydrants being covered by snow. For one, they're hard to find. For two, it delays us when we have to shovel those hydrants out, and so we can gain access to them, and sometimes it can create them to freeze as well. So just a tip, and like I say, hopefully we don't have to think about it anytime soon, but even if it's not the fire hydrant in your boulevard, when you look down the street, they're spread out. There could be several blocks in between the hydrants. So just because that particular hydrant isn't on your property doesn't mean that's not the hydrant that the fire department is going to utilize for your residents. So maybe the person that the hydrant is located at is out of town. Maybe they're physically unable to keep that hydrant clear, but please keep an eye on that and assist your neighbor, because that could certainly be our water source for your fire. So having assistance from the community is always helpful in regards to the hydrants. And let's taking a look over a couple more notes here. Back, and again, I apologize for kind of hopping around here, but common holiday season hazards, portable heaters as well. Not, I guess I shouldn't say it's just during the holiday, but during cold temperatures, utilizing portable heaters. Newer ones today do have some tip over protection, where if they get tipped over, they may shut off. However, we don't want to just rely strictly on that. Keeping a safe area around your portable heaters, keeping them away from flammables, is certainly one of the ways to prevent causing fires within the home or garage or wherever you may be utilizing those portable heaters. So, that is, in a nutshell, some of the EMS and fire safety related topics that we have to offer your members for today. Hopefully, they were some of them was maybe a review. However, some of those things maybe forgotten depending on the time of the year that those types of issues may come about.
Well, thank you for all that information. I should mention that October is National Fire Prevention Month, so thank you again for all those fire safety tips and those important medical safety tips that you shared as well. So we have reached the Q&A portion now, so we'll open it up for anyone on the call. If you have a question that you would like John to answer, please put your question in the chat box and we'll read it and get that question answered. I really liked your saying about the change your clock, change your batteries. I think that's a really good reminder. I had never heard that saying before, so thank you for bringing that up. I thought that was a really good reminder to be changing those things. I do have a question. You mentioned having smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors in the home. Do you recommend that people have a fire extinguisher in their home?
The fire extinguishers are always a good secondary thing in the event you do have a fire. However, if you haven't been properly trained in a with utilizing a fire extinguisher, it may be something you want to either YouTube or we do offer, and other departments as well do offer fire extinguisher training. They are fairly simple to operate. However, in the event of emergency, uh, those simple things can sometimes be forgotten. So, having them in a location that's visible and close to an exit, as I mentioned earlier, are things that take into consideration when either you're purchasing or plan on having one for your own fire safety. Um, those again do have expiration dates and need some attention throughout the year when extinguishers are hanging up. There is a powder inside that, depending upon how long they've been hanging there or sitting there, that powder can sometimes turn to a cake inside. So when you go to utilize them, all you'll have is for for the most part is the air coming out. So a simple way to prevent that from happening is a couple times throughout the year, if you do have one, tip them upside down. You should be able to feel that powder sliding inside, and that just prevents it from becoming like a cake and not being useful in the event of your emergency.
Thank you for answering that. Another question, and of course, I know this can vary based on multiple factors, like especially where you are located, but from the time that you dial 911, on average, how long can you expect before an ambulance arrives to you?
Like you mentioned, a lot depends on your location from that fire department or ambulance service. Certainly, the dispatch, they need to get some information prior to even sending out a fire truck or an ambulance. Certainly, one of the things would be what the problem is. If it's a medical problem, be it a heart attack or some type of injury, location is always a high priority. Certainly, they need to know where to dispatch us to. So, as far as how long it would take for that particular ambulance or fire truck to get there, would all determine be determined sometimes, depending upon the time of the year, road conditions. If we can't get there safely, we're certainly not going to be able to help your emergency. So, the amount of snow, ice, wet roads. We have to drive with due regard ourselves, even though we have the lights and sirens. That doesn't necessarily mean we can go at an unlimited speed limit ourselves. So we certainly, the dispatch, as quickly as they can get that information and get us dispatched, we will be out the door uh, within less than a minute to at least be responding to your location.
So it looks like that's all the questions that I am seeing. John, before we part ways, is there anything you would like to say or wrap up with?
Like I mentioned at the beginning, the Merrill Fire Department is appreciates the opportunity to come and be part of Park City Credit Union's monthly webinar. Prevention is part of our mission statement. We hope that everyone has a safe and happy holiday season, and we hope that some of these safety tips will be useful for you. And if you have any questions, you had the email address, a phone number here for the fire department. They will certainly answer your questions at the best they can. If they don't have the answer immediately, they will find it and get back to you and get you the information that you're looking for.
So we just pulled up John's information as well as the contact information for the Merrill Fire and EMS. And before we part ways too, I just want to say thank you